Hey, I'm instructor Dwayne Jenkins. Welcome to Dwayne's Guitar Lessons. In today's video lesson, we're going to be changing the guitar strings on this guitar right here. It's my main guitar, Elvira. I built her a few years back. And we're going to be, this looks like it's time to change out her strings. So that's what our lesson today is going to be, like how to change a guitar, or at least how I do it anyway, how to change guitar strings on a guitar like this with the floating bridge and a locking nut. Let's take a look.
Audio Jungle.
Alright, so here we have the guitar. I'm going to show you this section right here. This is where the bridge is. Now when you're changing strings on these types of guitars with the floating bridge, what I like to do is try to keep the bridge where it's at. Okay, it's very important because you don't want the bridge to fall into the cavity, because when you do, you go to tune it, you know, it does this too much when you go to tune it back, okay? Because the strings are floating. They're, you know, you got strings and they're floating, so this is what happens when you go to tune it, this, okay? And it takes forever to tune. So, if you keep the bridge kind of where it's at, right, by putting something underneath it, this is an old back plate, so I just slide it underneath there. It doesn't damage the finish or anything. You can put something in the cavity. It doesn't really matter what you use. Just try to use something that's going to keep that bridge level where it already is, okay? Keeps the tension where it's supposed to be, and then when you put the new strings on, it's going to be easier to tune, you know, back to where it's supposed to be. Alright, so once again, when you do these types of bridges, do not let the bridge fall into the cavity, okay? Block it up with something, okay? It doesn't matter what it is, but try to keep it level, alright, as much as possible, okay? Now what I like to do is got that, and then if you see here, we've got the neck. Okay, so here's the other part here. Now the neck, now what I usually do is just unloosen the strings. I'll take the nut, loosen the nut, and I've already loosened the nut. I don't take the things all the way off, okay? I just don't do that. You don't need to take them all the way off. You just need to loosen them. That's all you have to do is just loosen them, loosen the nut. That's all you have to do. Then I'll take a string winder, okay, and I'll unwind them here. All right, I'll unwind all these. All right, so that kind of takes the tension off the neck and loosens all the strings, and the bridge, like I said, back here is where it's supposed to be. So then I just take the string off the post, okay, and then I'll take a pair of like pliers and clip it, because it's going to be hard to get through. So what you do is just clip off that end, throw that in the trash, and then pull the wire through, or not the wire, I guess this guitar string, but it really is a wire when you think about it. And then I take the Allen wrench, bring this back facing down here. It's kind of hard for me to do this sometimes. Alright, so now we have back here to the bridge itself, and I just take the Allen wrench back here, and all these bridges, usually most of these bridges have the screw goes all the way through the bridge, so it's in the back. Some of them are right here, but these ones are usually in the back, so then I just take the Allen wrench and loosen that. Once again, you just have to loosen it. You don't have to make it go all the way out, and then boom, the string will pop out, okay? As you can see, the string has been, it's like that, so you put that in there. It goes right in this slot here where the block is. This has this little block that holds the string in, and the screw screws in, and it tightens the string, tightens the block that holds the string in place. So when you're doing this, make sure those blocks don't fall out, because if they do, you're gonna be that's what holds the string, so make sure you don't lose that, okay? Very, very important. So that's basically what I do, is I take all the strings off like that. So I'm going to take all the strings off. Now here we have the A string, and once again, people ask me, you know, like I said, I'm always asked, you know, when should I change my strings? Once again, we just loosen the screw in the back. Just loosen it. You don't have to take it all the way out or anything. Just loosen it until the string pops out, okay? Now usually what I do, how I judge, you know, my strings, is I feel them, okay, and usually I can feel the string has some like bumps to it, all right, from being pressed against the fret wires on the fretboard. So that's a good notion to know when to change your strings. If you feel that they're corroded from, you know, the sweat on your hands, because you get sweat on your hands when you play, you know, especially like in the summer when it gets hot. So that's another good thing. That's why it's good, like, if depending on where you live, you know, if you live in an area it's humid or something like that, you might get some corrosion in the string. So it's good to use like some string lubricant, or use some type of string cleaner, something to protect the strings and keep them from getting all corroded and stuff. But as I'm changing these strings, I can feel them, and I can feel that they need to be changed. And since I play every day, I usually change my strings about once a month. So it's kind of personal preference though. So what you gotta think about is how much you're playing the guitar and the condition of the strings. Okay, now I've got the strings off, so now is the perfect time to do any type of cleaning or repair, or anything needs to be, you know, if the pickups need to be adjusted, maybe they've been moving a lot. Sometimes the springs, that, you know, these screws get vibrate during performance and stuff, and these move. You need to adjust these or anything, or if any of this needs to be lubricated. Sometimes, since this is all metal, it's a good idea to lubricate this stuff with some WD-40. Okay, so that's another thing I would highly recommend, is every once in a while, you know, is lubricate this stuff with a little bit of WD-40, because it's all metal and screws and stuff, and it needs to be lubricated and taken care of. So that's something to think about. This is a good time for, I'm going to polish this all up, you know, just take some guitar polish and polish that. And if the fretboard needs to be, you know, polished up, take care of that too. If it's dry, you might need to hydrate it. You know, that doesn't have to be taken up too much, but, or if, you know, the tuners are loose or anything, now is the time to do all that. Okay. All right, so now I'm getting ready to put the new strings on. And you know, with guitar strings, you have this ball thing on the end. Now with these kind of bridges, you have to cut this ball end off. All right, with most bridges, like a Fender bridge, you leave the ball end on because that's what secures the string to the bridge. But with these floating bridges, these like Floyd Rose style, this is an Ibanez edge, but it's like the same style as a Floyd Rose. You got to cut off the end of the string. Okay. All right, so we take the string, we put it back here where we took it out of. Okay, so once again, it's got this block in here. So the screw's already unscrewed, it's already loose, so we put the string right in front of that block. It's like a string block or something, however you want to call it. Okay. All right. I don't know if you can really see how I put that in there like that. I put that string in there, and you can tell it'll bottom out, and it's in between the block and the metal, and then the screw. You're going to tighten up the screw, and the screw is going to push the block up against the string. And bring it up, and then fasten it up here to the top. But that's how you do the bottom right here. So I put the string in there, I tighten the screw, and then I bend the string down like this. I push it down on the bridge, bend it, okay? Bend it a little bit like that. So that already, you know, has a little bit of a bend in it. And that'll help to keep it in tune, all right? And then we'll take a look at the other part. All right, so on this side, I'll take the string and I'll put it through the nut. Once again, you know, I have the screw still on there. Put it underneath the string tree, or the bar, the retaining bar, and I put it through the tuner, the hole. Okay, and so then what I do, this is just something I do, and these are actually, this is a really good trick for like if you have a Fender that doesn't have the locking nut. What I do is I use, this is kind of a way that you can do like a synthetic kind of locking tuner, okay? So if you just have regular tuners, this is a good way of keeping the string kind of locked on a tuner without having to use locking tuners, okay? This is a great way of doing it. Now I don't really need to do this because I have the locking nut, and once the nut is locked, you don't have to, you know, all this stuff doesn't matter. But I like to just do this anyway. It's from when I was using a guitar without the nut. So what I do is I take the string, I pull it back a little bit, and I wrap it around the tuning peg like that. Okay, if you can see that in the video, Wrap that around there. Then when I put the string on, I hold it down, and as it wraps around, it actually pinches the string, okay? So it pinches the string, so now you have the string that's coming out of the tuner here. It's in between the two winds. So the string, as it's wound around the post, it kind of pinches the string and it holds it on there. So that's a good thing to do if you have like a regular Fender or a Gibson or something like that that doesn't have the locking nut, or you don't have locking tuners. That's a good way of doing it, okay? And I don't know if you can see in the video right there, the string is actually, it's like pinched in there in between. You can see that in there, okay? And that's how I do all the strings like that. Alright, so now I've got all the strings on. I've got them clamped in here, I've got them bent, I've got them come up here. I have them clamped on the post up here, everything. So now that I have this in here, okay, now that I have this in here, I can just take this and take it out, okay? Just pop it out, and the bridge is roughly where it was before I took the strings off. So now the bridge, now when I go to tune this, it's going to be a lot easier to tune because the bridge is now where it was to begin with. It's always, you know, it didn't move. But like I said, you never want to let it drop into the cavity because that's where, you know, you run into problems trying to get it back in tune, okay? But now that it's where it should be, where it's always at to begin with, it's going to be a lot easier to get back in tune, okay? Just kind of, and I polished it up good. Black is always the hardest color to keep clean, so I got that all polished up, and I've got the strings on now. Now I just need to tune it up, and it's going to be ready to go. And here's the strings on the headstock, okay? I see that in the video. Can you see how the strings, especially like this string right here, they are clamped in there, okay? The way that I put them on there, they're like, the strings are pinched from the windings. So if you do windings, you know, I would recommend doing that. If you wind the string around the post, I would do it like that so that it kind of pinches the string and it kind of locks it on the post. If you don't have like locking tuners or a locking nut, that's a great way to do it if you have like a regular Fender or a Gibson or something like that, to keep the strings on there. Now this I haven't tightened yet, I just have these loose, but once I tune it up I'll tighten these down and it'll be fine. And I also take, a lot of times what I do too with the strings when I'm putting them on there is I kind of bend them a little bit like this. I pull them up a little bit like this, okay? This is something I'd recommend doing too. Just kind of, you don't have to pull them up hard, but just kind of stretch them a little bit. Stretch them a little bit and get them used to being stretched, because that's going to get them, it's going to be easier for them to get in tune, and it's going to keep them in tune better, because that's the thing your strings need to do, is they need to get used to being stretched on the fretboard. So this will really kind of give you like a prerequisite kind of stretch. Okay. Now all I need to do is tune it up, and I'll be ready to go. Alright, so there we have it, how I change the guitar strings on my guitar. Some of the things that I do. If you do it different, be sure to let me know in the comments below, or if you have any ideas. These guitars are a little tricky because of the fact that you have to lock them both at the bridge and the nut. And that's what helps them to stay in tune and allows you to use the floating tremolo. Okay, so be sure to watch that. Be sure to take some of those ideas, and that'll help you with your guitar and keeping it in tune for the next time that you play with it. And then that way it can just be performing just at its peak when you get done playing it. Alright, so thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for future notification, check out my books on Amazon and eBay, my method books that can really help you with your guitar playing. Got some video courses, you can check that out on my website. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to contact me. Hit me up on social media, on Facebook and Instagram and all that, Twitter, I'm on all those. So if you see me on there, be sure to stop by, say hi, and keep practicing, and I will see you, my friend, at our next lesson.